I think the angle we want to take today is just really understanding the journey of someone who is in the polyamorous community.
So I think that's the topic we're going to discuss.
We're going to discuss polyamory.
When you're 14, 15 in the Catholic Church, you go to catechism,
right,
in preparation for your confirmation. So at that exact same time, we were in world history in middle school, and I'm learning about the Crusades, and I'm learning about the Reformation. So I'm getting hit with the dogma after school and hit with the facts of what's happened
in school.
Yeah, and my 14, 15-year-old brain, I don't remember exactly the age, just said no. Well, it turns out there's this recent college grad who is renting a room from us. She wants to fuck it. So then we have...
I always imagine that's how a lot of polyamory is.
It's going to be unfair, but this is my experience. I truly do feel American women are superficial bitches. Did I say that? I know. I felt.
As an American woman, what?
Artlist.io.
Hello. Welcome to Rainbow Dreamcatcher,
the Love Podcast.
My name is Nilla. I am a marriage and family therapist and relationship coach. I travel the world helping individuals learn the skills they need to have happy and healthy relationships.
And I'm Big Sexy, her loving co-host and husband, here to provide liberty.
All the jokes. So today we have two special guests. First, someone you know, dear little Fox. He's going to be in his little Bjorn today, so you might hear him breathing heavy, coughing, doing dog stuff, but you'll also see him on camera, so it should be a fun time. And we have live with us a special guest. Super excited about both the guest and the topic. Someone that we had the great pleasure to meet, and super interested in this topic and this particular person, as I hope you will be as well. I want to introduce Mike. Mike is a world traveler. He has extensive experience traveling all over the continent. He speaks a number of different languages. He's a network engineer, and he is also a member of...
He's originally from Northern California. Right. So 6 days out of the week, he and I are cool. On that 7th day, we have originally a cross-team rivalry.
On any given
Sunday, we have a cross-team rivalry. But otherwise, he's a really, really wonderful, exciting human being. And I can't wait to chop it up with him today.
Yeah, so what we're going to be talking about today is, I think, a really interesting topic for a lot of folks. And I think the angle we want to take today is just really understanding the journey of someone who is in the polyamorous community. I guess for me, the questions that come up are the questions that come up for a lot of folks, which is, how did you discover polyamory? How did you decide to move forward in this lifestyle?
So I think that's the topic we're going to discuss.
We're going to discuss polyamory. Are you just cheating on people? Is that kind of what's happening? Let's have that conversation. Let's just chop it up and see where it goes. So I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to turn it over to Mike.
Hello, Mike. Well, let me say my intro. Hello, Mike.
Sorry, my bad.
Okay. No, I just want to say welcome to the podcast. Happy to have you with you.
Thank you.
We should start at the beginning. Tell folks what we've already said some stuff, but tell folks what else they want to know about you.
Yeah, grew up in Northern California and didn't really go anywhere, do much in my life. I studied a lot, very studious child, until I was 18. A wicked stepfather kicked me out to the curb on my 18th birthday. Definitely a rude awakening to the world. But from that point on, I've been Mr. Independent, Mr. Going my own way kind of person, because I had to go and survive out on the mean streets of the South Bay of California, Northern California.
Shout out to our Northern California listeners.
Yeah, there you go. So, and then it's been quite an adventure. I did some government service. I became a firefighter, paramedic, actually, in Aspen, Colorado for 7 years. That was interesting. And then fell into the tech industry and during a time when a very exciting time, the late 90s, the internet was just becoming the global phenomenon that it is now maturing into. And I got into it in a big way. I worked for some very big companies and started then really going crazy. When I was a firefighter paramedic, I spent every spare moment in Thailand, believe it or not. Of all places in the world, I crossed the Pacific Ocean many, many times because I got into diving quite a bit. And I fell in love with Thailand.
Mm-hmm.
So I literally crossed the world just to get in the water.
Yeah.
That was my big thing. So spent a lot of time in Thailand, and then once I got into tech, I saw, oh, actually, I could make money because
there's money in tech. That is what they say.
Even though I was a professional firefighter paramedic, the pay wasn't that good. The lifestyle was great. Being in a ski resort like Aspen, having that uniform, they give you get free ski passes, free skis, free everything like that, and you get some respect in a small community. It's a fun time for sure, but the fun times don't buy you a house,
right,
and don't give you the resources to get married and have kids. And I mean, if you wanted to have an alternative lifestyle, but I wanted to buy a house, the American dream and all, right?
Yeah.
So I got a tech job, and it was really the right time because money was flowing. This is pre-dot-com bubble burst,
right.
And I rode that wave until the dot-com bubble burst. And then this is a quick story of the arc of the adult life. Then when that happened, yes, I was like on the 11th wave of layoffs, and I'm sitting in Argentina where I was living, managing a project of fiber optics, like global infrastructure for fiber optics in Argentina. I got laid off, but they didn't lay me off. They said, I want you to move back to Virginia. And I was like,
same thing.
We don't want to pay you to be in Argentina no more.
Yeah, and it was October, and when you live overseas, you get a tax exemption. I told them, the day I set foot in the United States, it would cost me so much in taxes. Please lay me off. And I remember him saying, you can't ask to be laid off. You can quit. And I said, oh, no, I'm not giving up that package. Why don't you do me a solid and fire me? And so he did. I reminded him of all the work that I had done, and I asked to be fired. I got fired. And during that call, subconsciously, because I had spent all that time in Thailand for the previous decade, then I had been working so intensely because I was starting this career. Something snapped in me that I didn't even realize. And as I'm hanging up the phone, I yelled to my girlfriend at the time, "We're moving to Thailand." So we moved to Thailand. And I proposed marriage to her, and I grew up Catholic, Roman Catholic, as we'd say in California. They don't say Roman Catholic in Europe, but I grew up Catholic. I left the Catholic Church when I was an adolescent. I'm taking a tangent, and I'll get back onto the arc. I left the Catholic Church in history class. When you're 14, 15 in the Catholic Church, you go to catechism,
right,
in preparation for your confirmation. So at that exact same time, we were in world history in middle school. And I'm learning about the Crusades. And I'm learning about the Reformation. And I pay attention because I was a good student. And I did reading on my own. I've always been interested in history. And I got into the ugly facts. And I said to myself, no, this ain't right.
Right.
So I'm getting hit with the dogma after school and hit with the facts of what's happened
in school.
Yeah. And my 14, 15-year-old brain, I don't remember exactly the age, just said, no, I'm going to go agnostic ish. I didn't want to define it. And I decided I would study all the world's religions, all the belief systems of the world. And long story short, I said I would do it if I didn't discover something that resonated with me internally. Sorry, my mic there. Then I would be just agnostic or atheist for the rest of my life. But if I find something, I'll go with an open mind, and choose it myself. It took 5 years I read everything, and I talked to everyone. Very curious young man I was. And at 19, it hit me. I would be a Taoist. So since 19, I've been Taoist. That's a whole separate story. So time to get back onto polyamory, we'll get to that. So,
but could you just briefly explain for folks who might not know what Taoist?
well,
What Taoist is, like kind of the basic principle.
You're familiar with the yin yang symbol. That's the primary symbol that most people know about Taoism. Taoism has no real dogma. Taoism can be, there's really, you could say in a shorthand that there's two kind of schools of thought. There's philosophical Taoism and spiritual Taoism. There are very few Westerners like myself who are spiritual Taoists. We're more philosophical Taoists. So we take the philosophy of the Tao, and Taoism is a very, very old religion, like pre-Christ, maybe as old as Judaism or older. Obviously older than Islam and Christianity, way older than those. But regardless of the age, it's about balance with the universe. There is no Godhead. We are all matter and energy, and we are all, you could say, holy, although there's no concept of holy. There's no heaven or hell, but there's universal harmony. There are many concepts. You know about the yin yang. Most people understand about yin.
I think it's funny you mentioned that most people know about the yin yang. I almost guarantee most people would not say, "Oh, that's the Taoist symbol."
Right.
Correct. In America,
and especially in the West,
many Western cultures don't necessarily.
That's a Chinese fish thing. It's the Chinese Pisces.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So that having the fish, that's a nice art theme, but it's
So let's segue back. So you said you moved to Thailand with your then girlfriend.
Yeah, and then I proposed to her, and that gets back into that. I have, even though I've been Taoist, I was raised Catholic in the American puritanical idea of, I'm born in 1970, so the Moors and I was always a good kid as well. Both my parents were police. And usually children of police either go real bad or real good.
Yeah.
And I was real
kind of
good.
like preacher kids.
Yeah. Kids and
yeah, exactly.
Past
the kids. Yeah. PKs.
I didn't touch no alcohol. I didn't do no drugs. I didn't party. I studied. I got into music. I got into just culture and expanding myself. And then on my 18th birthday, I suddenly needed a lot of money just to survive. So then I got into work. So I worked hard. And then where were we? Let's see. The
girlfriend moved Thailand.
Girlfriend. So of course I proposed to her because in my head, well, I mean, if I'm going to ask you to give up your life in Argentina, I was with an Argentine, living with her. I had been working in Argentina for 3 years at that point. And I was part of a project to connect all of the Americas, the entire Western Hemisphere, in a big fiber optic ring that is today the foundation of their internet. So anytime anybody does anything, any North American calls anyone in South America, they're using fiber optic that I had something to do with.
Nice.
Anytime
They're
any
connected.
Argentine, connected. Anytime any Argentine goes out of the country, or any Brazilian or Peruvian or Ecuadorian or Colombian, they're using the network that I built 25 years ago. So I proposed to her very romantically. It's a half-hour story just on that. It was a nice experience. And we moved as fiancé to Thailand. We lived there for a while. I was a dive master, working as a dive master, having a great time. She didn't have a job, so she started getting bored. And then we eventually decided to move somewhere. We moved to Argentina, but in the middle of a crisis. They were having a massive political and economic crisis, which they're still trying to get out of for Argentina. And we ended up moving back to Northern California just simply because of jobs. I wanted to move to Berlin. I've always wanted to live in Germany most of my adult life for a reason I still can't fully explain. And we moved to Northern California and we got married. And we had a happy marriage for about 5 years, stayed married 13 years because right when the marriage was looking, maybe we need to start seriously getting some therapy or looking at transitioning apart, we had our son.
Oh.
And that's timing.
Now, were you polyamorous at that time yet?
Nope, nothing. Totally traditional. And this is where the story gets interesting.
Yeah.
I finally, and I'm very loyal. I never had any issues with that. I had frustrations like anyone probably does. And I definitely found myself emotionally flirting with a lot of people. And that would upset my Argentine wife. And I was like, hey, if I'm not getting naked with these people, then it's not really that much of an issue. So we had that kind of conflict, right?
Right.
It's a common story. But I think we were both loyal, and I can't speak for her even after the divorce. But again, it was 5 years into the marriage. We had a small child. We then focused on the baby, and I was loyal to her, but I was also very loyal. I wanted to be a good father. My father was police. He was not so loyal, and I grew up with step parents and bouncing between houses and things. As a child of that, I wanted my son to have some stability. But by the time he was about 7 or 8, he was having a good life, and I was thinking that now it could be a time that he could handle the process. My parents got divorced when I was 10, but they did it in an ugly way. I thought maybe we could transition. We can either. I tried really hard to get therapy and for myself and to get her to participate. She didn't really want to. She felt like the victim, and the therapist was always taking her side and all that stuff. And that was difficult, but that was a big red flag. So it was a really interesting story. I was going to visit an old friend in DC. We were living in North Carolina at the time. North Cackalack. Shout out to
North
Cackalack
Kakalakans.
Yes, exactly. Living in North Carolina, my company had a R&D office there. And I had a short business trip up to DC to do something. Again, I'm in telecommunications. And I have an old friend from Aspen. She's a really close friend of mine, purely platonic. And I have a lot of women friends as well. I really love women, but
I can relate.
yeah, love women, but I've never been particularly focused on, catching. Of course, I was married at the time and all that, but that's just a detail just to kind of add to it. But she's really, really close, intimate friend. And I got so lucky because we had a couple days. I'm doing my business stuff. She's doing her life. She had 2 daughters at the time. And we had some nice time to reconnect. But then there was a massive snowstorm. And that was serendipitous for sure. Because then
the weather.
yeah, we got snowed in for 3 days, could not move. It shut everything down. One of those big nor'easters, I think they call them. It shut everything down. No trains, no roads, no planes, nothing. And amazing opportunity. So I went deep and into my frustrations and into my experience in my marriage, and I had decided like that. Okay, now's the time. It's put up or shut up. I'm gonna ask for a divorce. We need to either make some major changes or it's divorce time. Mm-hmm. And I had all the thoughts, and I had a 5-hour drive back home, and I was determined. And so, just like a sitcom, I walk in the door, and I want to say something. She wants to say something, and it's like, you go first, and then sitcom or comic tragedy or whatever. And she blew me away and said, I want to be polyamorous.
Oh.
Or she said, actually, to quote her properly, I want you to know that I really love you. I am happy to be your wife, and I want this marriage to work. And can we take a look at being polyamorous? Well, it turns out there's this recent college grad who is renting a room from us, at Airbnb, and I'm doing a lot of business travel. She wants to fuck him. So then we have.
I always imagine that's how a lot of polyamory starts.
Yeah, very unconscious. She has a desire. She doesn't want to lie to me. She doesn't want to cheat on me. So she finds this solution. And I'm saying all this in hindsight, right? At the time, I didn't know. At the time, I was thinking, well, okay, this is an excellent opportunity. This will be a catalyst for us. This will be a big change. We'll either make this successful. I had never considered polyamory in my entire life. But we'll either make this work, or this will be the catalyst for us to get a divorce. Which, ding, 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 the latter. And
spoiler.
Yeah, exactly. Eventually,
it happened.
Well, so my reaction, because I'm kind of academically oriented, or I like to process and understand things before I go into action. Sometimes I went and joined like a meetup group, a polyamorous community. We had a friend who happens to be a psychologist specializing in polyamory, and we had only talked about it, but nothing in depth. So I became close to her. Close to her more to like invite her out to coffee and pick her brain kind of thing. And she was happy to do that. So we developed a closer friendship. That was nice. And then I read all the books.
Mhm.
I just read everything. My now
Can you give
ex-wife,
some examples just for the folks out there? I'm going to guess things like The Ethical Slut
Absolutely.
and
the yellow one
Was
that
it
I don't
Sex in the
remember the name, the
Morning?
yellow cover one.
Tristan Taormino.
Yeah, that name.
Uh,
It's the yellow cover, and it was the
is
number
it
one.
Martha Qualley?
I should remember the name.
Yeah.
But because it was The Ethical Slut was my second favorite book, that was the most comprehensive.
Mhm.
The other one has a yellow cover, at least the edition that I had.
Mhm.
And oh man,
You all know the,
That's
the,
Dawn.
the yellow color polyamory book.
The
Yeah, that
Yellow
one.
Color Polyamory book.
Well,
We'll look it up and we'll put a link down
yeah,
below.
those two books were big
Maybe we can find it.
influences on me, and I had a really great community in the Raleigh-Durham area. They were very welcoming. I made a lot of good friends. It wasn't like suddenly new sex partners and stuff like that. I needed time to like learn how to even flirt, learn how to flirt with potential.
Right.
I innocently flirted much of my marriage.
You were a flirt, yes.
Yeah. I am by nature because I enjoy people.
Yeah.
And it's fun. And so, but I was always innocent because I was a good husband and monogamous. And I thought I was monogamous. So I tried this thing on. I was, taking baby steps into it. And I was finding a lot of growth, but a lot of difficulties. But I also found that I had no jealousy about her having her time and her dates with this man. Oh, my first condition of let's do polyamory was he moves out today, right?
Right.
Because you're not fucking that kid in
the
my house. Nah. So what they did, and they enjoyed themselves, but then where it went wrong, I felt that I felt, well, this actually is kind of me, because I've never been really a jealous person in general, but I never had gone into the foray of that kind of relationship where it's intimate like that. And so I noticed I wasn't jealous. I noticed I was really feeble, wobbly in my initial steps, but I was enjoying the freedom.
Mhm.
So that whole, I don't know, several months, it became, I learned a lot of the vernacular.
Mhm.
One of the conflicts was I started seeing that she wasn't really respecting my time. We were trying to strike the balance. I was having conversations based on the books that I'd read and stories I had heard from the community. She wasn't on the same wavelength.
Mhm.
I offered for her to study and go to the meetups and stuff like that. She didn't want to have anything to do with it.
Nope, she just wanted to fuck.
She just wanted to
Yeah.
and just be social. I mean, that's
Sure.
characterizing it too much. She wasn't
Right.
like hypersexual, but she was getting a release because she was also unhappy in the marriage for many years, right? And I didn't have that release until later. Eventually got it, but I was so awkward, like a teenager, those first months. So
Baby Polly.
but then I learned about a couple things. One that sticks out. There were a couple incidents where I felt that she was really disrespecting me because we were the primary relationship. We were a married couple, right? And this was a situation where we were really doing like parallel polyamory, and she was treating me more like I pay for everything, and not I didn't pay for them having their social time, but I pay for the house. I pay
The
for everything.
bills,
She
all
wanted to
the-
control. She wanted to control everything, control the time, and all that stuff. And she put minimal effort into balance and stuff like that, and also didn't care about my emotional journey at all. She was having the fun. I was doing the work, kind of thing. I don't want to mischaracterize it, but that's kind of the way.
At least
It
what it
was.
felt like, right?
But then I learned about something called fluid bonding.
Mhm.
When it suddenly came out, I don't know. I think I asked one time. I mean, you using condoms, right? No. Why should we? Because she didn't know anything about it. And I said, wait, that's something we negotiate, which I didn't know. So I said, when I brought that up and was seriously had an emotional reaction to that, I didn't agree to that, and that I don't agree. And if I was having sex with somebody, I would wear a condom unless we agreed. And she just blew it off. Like, it's none of your business. That was the beginning of the end for sure.
Right.
I started sending her signals like, maybe you should just move in with him, and we should start looking for lawyers, stuff like that. She wasn't having it. She wanted to keep the marriage. Of course, I'm the good, loyal father, the breadwinner. I'm the security. Of course, she wants to keep me. That became clear. Then I got a job opportunity to move to Germany.
Oh, nice.
Which was my
which
dream.
was your dream. Right.
My adult long dream.
Mhm.
And even though I wanted to divorce her, I got to admit, I went for it anyway, kind of knowing in the back of my head, but not sure that I'd probably be asking for divorce sometime soon.
Mhm.
But I didn't want to give up this opportunity. If I asked for a divorce before we moved to Germany, my dream gets shot down.
Right.
And I'm skipping a lot of stories about how that I got close to that dream, and then it didn't work out.
Right.
And this
we'll get into all the Germany moving on my podcast.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And so we moved to Germany. Long story short, 6 months later, I asked her for a divorce. And I had not, because I was focused on the move, I wasn't into the polyamory thing. I had a great experience in North Carolina, a couple of minor, like fumbling, again, like teenager sexual experiences. I did feel like a teenager, like I was reawakening my sexuality and my manhood, really, my manhood when it comes to my relationship with women intimately. But nothing really materialized. But then I got into Germany, and then I got a new fresh start. Yes. Question.
So I have a question. I think it's a pertinent question because I think folks, as they enter or consider polyamory for their own relationships, can you talk a little bit more about that kind of early phase, that kind of awkwardness, and how you worked through that kind of like teenage phase? I think a lot of people maybe encounter that as a surprise when they first get started.
Mhm.
I just wonder if you could maybe reflect on that
It was
from
a
where you are
surprise.
today.
It was a surprise. I felt kind of reborn that way. I didn't have a lot of confidence. I was coming out of a mostly sexless marriage. We were in like once a year kind of area, and that was not satisfying. But I was too loyal and too honest to. I didn't want to cheat, and I didn't even know about. I mean, didn't really know about polyamory. Believe it or not, I think I'm a man of the world, but it just never came up. It wasn't in my social circle. And so, North Carolina's a little bit Bible Belt.
Not a little bit.
Yeah. Quite.
Yes,
Yeah.
As someone from Missouri, I can tell you, I know the
Yeah.
Bible Belt. And
That is a deep notch in
There.
the,
So
in the
polyamory
Bible Belt.
is very alternative there. But I was in the triangle, which is Duke in North Carolina, University of North Carolina, which I was a student, by the way. I was going part-time to UNC. So I found my, like the polyamory people, they were like Duke professors and stuff, and graphic designers and people who are more open-minded, I think, if I was to characterize that. So yeah, it was a really tough, like really liking a girl. I'm just going to use adolescent terminology. Really liking a girl and getting the courage to. I'm in my 40s, and getting the courage. My confidence level was so low because of being in a sexless marriage and having all these constraints that I put on myself because I was being a loyal husband. And still being married and then going out there was all new to me. So I didn't have the confidence, which I think the best way to answer is to actually contrast.
Okay.
Instead of diving into that experience, I would like to move forward into the German time, because then I will talk about the second round of polyamory. And when I do the contrasts, that'll explain. So long story short, I asked for the divorce. I decide to date. I go into this websites like OkCupid, for example, and just have the most devastatingly horrible experiences of my self-esteem just being
apps didn't work.
No,
What? Online dating wasn't the begin and end all of love.
My self-esteem was beat down because look at you can't see, but a big guy, lost my hair early in life. I did not have a look that I didn't have the look that made the shots. That when you're swiping, I never did Tinder. I'm not a Tinder type of person, but so I tried to do more in-depth stuff. I remember I have to say this. I'd read profiles. I'd reread them. Like if I found somebody interesting, I'd reread them, and I would write full bespoke messages to everyone and get no reply most of the time, or get not interested or anything, and just over and over again. And it was a beat down, but I'm glad I went through it. I guess.
Well, you sharpen your sword with a rough edge.
Yeah, rough. I'm really happy to say I'm not a misogynist. After all that, I could have become an incel or a deep misogynist. It was brutal, but I got through it. I stayed positive. I eventually found a girlfriend, and this polyamory thing, it was like after the divorce, I just let it go. I didn't consider myself polyamorous, even though I learned that I wasn't jealous. I'm going to get to it now. I got into a relationship. It was a normal and monogamous relationship. Once that didn't work out, a few months later, I found another young lady. This is all dating Germans now because I'm living in Germany. And then I met a woman. I actually got engaged. We had this amazing romance. I moved in with her. It happened really quickly by German standards, super quickly. Everybody was amazed, but it developed in this big thing. I proposed. We were going to share the house. I was already acting like a stepfather to her daughter, and that was actually working out really, really well. I had a lot of father energy, and I was I was not prepared to deal with a teenage girl. But I learned quickly, and I felt that I had developed a lot of communication skills over my life, and especially with the polyamory thing, that actually is so much more than sexuality or romance or intimate relationships. But so being clear, communicating, being honest, being direct, that helped me with my relationship with this teenage girl, actually. So we had just a great time, and then suddenly, for reasons, it fizzled apart, and we broke up. And this is the part of the story. The day we broke up fully, it just hit me like a ton of bricks, like, or divine inspiration. Then I said, Mike, you're going to be polyamorous now. You are polyamorous from this day forward until your last day. Quote Game of Thrones. And it hit me really emotionally, physically. I had a physiological response. I'm getting chills thinking about it now, years later. And from that day, I just decided, and no apps, I'm going to go out and put myself out there. And man, I was confident as hell, and the ladies were everywhere. First time in my life, I got attention, real attention all the time. I think I had gotten attention before, but because of
I'm pretty sure when you were a firefighter
Yes.
on the ski slopes,
Or a dive master.
or a
on the
dive
shores of
master on the
Thailand.
shores of Thailand,
there were a few.
there
little
was
things.
a few. You were not seeing it, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there were tons of.
You're right, and I think I didn't see.
Yeah.
But now I'm out there.
But now your eyes are open.
Somehow this arc of my story, everything fell into place, and it didn't feel like a conscious effort. It just happened.
Mhm.
And this time, I didn't consciously think of it. I became polyamorous, and this is where it comes in with the confidence, feeling good, feeling strong, independent, feeling sexy. Oh man, I became an adventurer. I discovered my own slut. I didn't know I could ever be a slut, but I was an ethical slut because I had read the damn book.
Yeah.
And I believed in it.
You finally understood the terminology.
Right? Yes, I truly did. And I lived it. And I was enjoying it so much. And I was honest. The being direct and honest and open, amazing. Just all of life. Mm-hmm. And so at one point I had like 8 partners at once. I remember juggling that, but I traveled all over. So it was really easy. It was kind of like a girl in every port, to use that antiquated expression. But since I was open, like if I was in with somebody and they wanted to be intimate, I would explain to them the situation. And if they were not into it, then like, hey, if you want to continue, I'd be very happy to be your friend. We don't have to do that other stuff if that's uncomfortable for you. And almost every time I'd have that conversation, they'd still want to do it. Mm-hmm. Even if they were quote unquote monogamous, they would like to try. And I was like, I had never felt so desired, you know, still looking like with this body that I have, that I found I have to pause because I have to make this statement. Mm-hmm. In my experience, I'm in my 50s now. I have to say it's going to be unfair, but this is my experience. I truly do feel American women are superficial bitches. Can I say that?
You can say that.
I felt.
American women, as an American woman, what?
I know. Knowing that there's an American woman across the way.
Okay, can I will say this.
Oh, yeah. Say something. All right.
I will say this. I think Americans are superficial bitches.
Yeah, you know. I'll go with you.
I think Americans are superficial bitches. Mm-hmm. I get your perspective, but I gotta tell you, I think Americans generally.
Good, yeah. Let's not throw it into one gender or the other.
Just say, just go put it on out there.
Sure. Okay, I'll go with you.
Fair enough.
So by my experience.
Shout out to all our American superficial bitches.
Yeah. So
thanks for listening, bitches.
So I went to a wedding in San Diego, by the way, a few years ago, and I was bunking with my sister, and we were having this conversation. She was curious. She's evangelical Christian, So she doesn't. This polyamory thing is completely obscene to her. She didn't judge me because I'm her brother. She loves me. So this was an opportunity for me to explain this alternate lifestyle in a way that she could actually pay attention to and accept. And we're preparing for the rehearsal dinner or something, right? And I said, I explained to her some of my experiences. She just thought, oh, you're just a slut or a serial monogamist or something with all these girlfriends you have. And I explained to her the difference. And then we talked about the confidence, and I said, and the superficiality, and about my experiences. I mean, I have been literally, let me give you a look about what an American woman, if I tried to flirt with her. You get that look?
Okay, so can I ask though?
What?
Because it's very important
Yes.
for all superficial bitches. Does this person know how much money you have?
Oh,
Or no? That might change that look depending. Right.
To my point.
I just want to put that out there.
To my point.
Just saying.
So that's another thing.
Different look.
I'm a successful person, not crazy rich or anything.
But just straight off of the package that they're seeing.
Yeah, and I dress plainly. I don't particularly take care of my body. I try to stay fit and everything, but that kind of thing. I don't come off as particularly wealthy, which is fine by me because
smart. Yeah.
So we're at a wedding, right? And we came up with this thing, and I said, I will give you an experiment, because she didn't believe it, that American women were superficial. I don't want to keep repeating that because it is becoming sexist when I say that. But the superficiality in my experience, but I said, now I'm confident, and I say, I still, whenever I go to the States, because I travel to the States all the time, in Europe, I feel like a sex god. I'm just being hyperbole there, a little hyperbole, but no, I feel really confident when I go to the States. I find myself shutting down that flirt vibe. I just don't even consider. I don't consider it at all because of my experience. And she said, oh, come on, we're going to go to a wedding. It's a perfect time. You go crazy. And I said, okay, let me show you. And this is a true story. In San Diego, this really nice wedding. At the reception, I said, okay, I'm so confident. I will. For you, my sister, I will turn that on. And I was Mr. Casanova. But Mr. Casanova doesn't lay it on thick. Mr. Casanova is subtle. Mr. Casanova knows, because he's been in Europe doing the business. So I went on the hunt, as it were, but subtly. And I was just Mr. Charming. I'd make the jokes. I'd touch the shoulder. I'd look into the eye deeply. The little things you do.
Things.
So I did it. Fail, 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 success, big success. And you'll never believe what happened. This gorgeous, tall, blonde beauty. She was one of the bridesmaids. She was the only one who was leaned in, if you know what I mean. I did the flirt. She leaned in. And then I said, oh, I detect an accent. Where are you from? Oh, I'm from Stuttgart. I just flew in 3 days ago. I flew in from Stuttgart 5 days before. The only one that had success in the entire wedding was a German. It proved my point. It's one instance, but it
could prove your point. It might mean that American women are superficial, or it might just mean that the game you are slinging is German game.
You got that European swag happening.
You got the European swag. So it may not necessarily be the superficiality, but perhaps that what you are slinging is just a little too German for the average American cornflake girl.
Look, I'll go with it at this point. At this point, I'm so happy here living in Europe that I'm just going to do my thing. Whether your explanation or mine is closer to the truth, and it's a complex world out there. Both could be right. Depends on the person. We're all individuals.
Yeah. Well, I do want to ask you this question. I realize we're bumping up against time, but I, especially as you've gone on this journey of discovery, people often ask me or ask other folks, is this something that is just natural to you? Do you feel like you have been a polyamorous person and like this was just something that is a part of your nature and therefore is accessible to you? Is this something that you felt like you had to learn how to engage and be in this community? Like how much of it felt like something that's just like an inherent internal, like, oh, this is just me, as opposed to part of the journey of learning about and engaging with the community with some intention? Does that make sense?
It does. The first round, as I mentioned, was fumbling, but it felt like this was a worthy journey. And even without success, I kept going and I was fine. But then the move to Germany kind of interrupted it. And then after the monogamy, that felt fine too. I didn't feel a need to be polyamorous. But then once the inspiration to be polyamorous, since that moment, I'm not turning back.
Okay.
Even though I have a primary girlfriend now who we were mostly monogamous. We had one of those, it's a spectrum, right? So
Monogamish.
yeah, we had a monogamish relationship, and we have transitioned that over time. I've been with her for over 4 years now to fully polyamorous, and it seems to be working. Feels natural, totally natural. I've always been an open-minded person. I'm still shocked that I never heard of polyamory before my ex-wife mentioned it to me. I have never had better relationships. I have never felt more confident and clear in my head about in my heart and that connection because I can process my feelings so much better. I feel so much more emotionally mature, and my communication, especially with being heterosexual with the women in my life, whether it's intimate or not, that's been a fun one. Can I just mention? I know we don't have a lot of time, but the character of we're on the Costa del Sol in Spain, right? And
That's so beautiful.
a lot of people here, and a lot of people coming and going.
Here.
A lot of beautiful people,
Yeah.
and I find myself having that initial negotiation a lot with people and explaining to them that I'm polyamorous and having various reactions, and it's all very interesting. And what's been the most beautiful thing is women that there's a potential for more of a romantic, sexual, intimate relationship. When I come along, like I'm clear, I'm attracted to you. Maybe we have something more in some way. They might come up with some resistance, some not. I see a lot of people playing the games that we learn in our adolescence and wherever in our families or whatever. And since I'm immune to all that, I can see through all of it. And I'm also not the hunter going for a target. I don't go to any relationship with a goal in mind. I just am loving human connection.
Right.
And so if in the case where there's some attraction, and I have to feel it too. I'm not, if I'm just attracted and they're just completely, I don't even bother, and that's fine.
What's the point? Yeah.
But if there is,
I'm not going to flirt with a brick wall.
yeah.
Right.
But if there's some flirtation, and then when I go into like, hey, go on a date, and then I see some hesitation, that's been a delight because I have found so many opportunities to broaden and deepen relationships with people that may not be so comfortable with it. It's not discomfort with polyamory, it's discomfort with being really honest and straight. And that has made some amazing experiences. Some maybe they become lovers, but others become friends that they're learning how just to communicate with a man. And the biggest one, how to be safe with a man who's attracted to them maybe. But since I'm in control of my own sexuality and my own desires, and I'm satisfied in my life, I can be with a woman, completely be with a woman, even if there's attraction. And it doesn't have to be this thing.
Right.
And then that safety, some of them love that safety and then want to be with me.
Yes.
Some don't, but they enjoy having like a brother in their life that can really be, and it can go quick, like in a couple weeks in a relationship, and they're already seeing me like a brother. And I'm perfectly 100% fine with that.
Yeah.
Because I have a new friend.
That's called respecting boundaries.
Exactly. So I just wanted to cut to that chase of that. That is the number one thing that I get from being polyamorous here in this culture that we're living in here with all the different nationalities and people coming and going. I very quickly can get down to the like who are we going to be for each other? That sounds too conclusive. It's not like that at all. But
just what the relationship is
Just
going to be.
Yeah. Getting to that clear place.
Yeah.
Amazing. I love how a lot of women I get like in the first time meeting them can have such deep conversations. They're, my self-esteem is like this. And I don't know, I'm afraid of men, or all men are a threat, or I get that so much. And that kind of breaks my heart. But then that lets me be maybe a positive force in their life. And that gives me purpose and meaning in a way. It's not my whole world, but that's that polyamory experience has let me be that way.
All right. Beautiful.
Yeah, well, that's wonderful. I'll tell you what, we're gonna have to do this again.
Yeah, this was too short.
Because we did not. I know we scratched the surface of polyamory. We kind of got into it, but I'm pretty sure our listeners want like details and histories and
right
and stuff that they come to look for. But Man, it's a great introduction into that environment.
Thank you so much. It's been such an interesting conversation. We're definitely going to have to do a part 2.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling we're going to get a lot of questions. So, Colorful Humans, if you have questions about this particular topic, if this has sparked some interest on your part about what's happening in your relationship, or perhaps you want to explore polyamory, feel free to go on ahead and send us an email. You can send us the email at rainbowdreamcatchertlp
At gmail.com.
You can also hit us up on all of the socials, Instagram,
At Rainbow
TikTok,
Dreamcatcher, the Love Pod.
all that good stuff.
You can find us. If you search for Rainbow
Facebooks.
Dreamcatcher, the Love Podcast on any of your social environments, you'll grab us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So thank you so much, Mike. It has been such a pleasure. And I suppose we should just say,
yeah. I would like to ask: do you want people to know your social media handles at all?
If they want to leave,
and know is an acceptable answer.
I'm pretty private about such things.
There
I'm
you
not
go.
so much into social media. If there's someone who leaves a comment, wants to get in touch with me, they can do it through you guys.
Yep,
And
perfect.
I'm happy to respond.
Happy to be a liaison
absolutely.
from Michael. Thank you again.
Great.
Thanks so much. Looking forward to the next conversation.
Yay. Ciao, everyone.
This
And
has
then
been
Rainbow Dreamcatcher, the Love Podcast.
Bye-bye.
Bye.